So, okay. I'm going to start off just a couple minutes. I'm going to just tell you a tiny bit about my story. Then I'll throw it over to Dr. Denise. She'll tell her story, and then we'll get right into the questions. For those of you that are brand new, never met me before, this is the first content you've ever had with Microdose U or anything we're doing. My name is Dr. David Maddow. I am a retired dentist. No, I'm not a healthcare. I mean, I'm not in the mental health field, but I'm a retired dentist. But if you don't think dentists had to deal with mental health issues, you got something else coming, because I have to deal with a lot of people that come in. They're not always happy about it. So I've got a lot of experience with that. However, so I started this podcast close to 3 years ago. The podcast is called Microdose U. It's on Apple, Spotify. They do a little bit on YouTube, but most of the content is on Apple and Spotify audio podcast. I'm getting a little bit more into YouTube, but I can't get rid of it because people just keep coming back to it and they want more on YouTube. And I don't want to just shut that down 100%. So we do a little bit on YouTube also. But I, as a practicing dentist, as a retired practicing dentist, and I also went into another business where I did a lot of public speaking and dental conferences and coaching dentists to be more successful in their lives and in their practices. I was actually having a quite a career, quite a profession, quite a career, doing a lot, but that finally started getting to me at some point. And it's hard to really say when, but several years ago, I started really experiencing a lot of I say a lot of anxiety, mental health issues. I felt depressed sometimes. I just didn't feel right about my life. And I didn't really know the reason, because everything was going really well in my life, and I've been pretty fortunate. But I was experiencing a lot of, let's say, just really difficult things in my life. I don't want to go into too much detail, but things that just nobody really wants to go through, as far as like the way we feel every single day. And I did a lot of the traditional things you try to do, like, talk therapy with mental health professionals, pharmaceuticals. It works to an extent. Let's say I felt 50% better, maybe, but I didn't want to live the rest of my life only 50% better. I wanted to live the rest of my life doing everything I can, and living every single day, feeling good, gliding through the days, not being stressed out, not being anxious, not being depressed. So that's when I kind of started experimenting with magic mushrooms. It was to the day almost exactly 3 years ago. It was April 1st, 2020. What's 2021? Almost 3 years ago. They have changed my life. Microdosing magic mushrooms has changed my life. I feel like I should have felt maybe my entire life, but it's only been the past 3 years. But still, I'll take it. And I'm really happy with the way things are going. And without going into a whole lot of detail, because I don't want to spend the whole episode talking about myself, this whole webinar, but I just want to let you know that they have really worked well for me. And I've spent the last 3 years sharing my life story and how magic mushrooms have changed my life with a fairly large audience. People on, webinar tonight, my podcast videos, I'm guests on certain podcasts, and just a lot of the stuff we do, our private Facebook group. And I'm very, very passionate about helping others that just don't really know where to turn or don't know how to get help, and if what they're doing now is not helping. So that's my passion. We're going to share a lot more as we go on tonight, but I just wanted to share that part with you. And again, thank you so much for being here. Dr. Denise, go ahead and take a few minutes and share, everything that you're about, with our audience tonight.
I will do a little bit of what I'm about, or maybe the most important thing. So, and thank you for sharing that. I always appreciate hearing your story. So I'm a active, actual, practicing licensed doctor of psychology. I've had a mental health career in mental health treatment and all aspects of evaluation and treatment I've been licensed now for 33, almost 34 years. So, and I had a little different way of finding microdosing. I knew about psychedelic assisted therapy way back before everything was illegal. We were very aware of that transformative nature of various psychedelics, but I particularly took an interest in mushrooms, given that they're sort of grown in nature and they're plants. And I mean, they're actually technically fungi and they're their own kingdom. We call it plant medicine partially because when you go for training, which I have done in really wanting to understand psilocybin and mushrooms. They call it plant medicine. At Cornell University, they call it plant medicine. So it isn't technically a plant. It is its own kingdom. We have the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, and then the fungi or fungi kingdom. So it's really interesting, and they're very wise, and they're actually a little more similar to animals. So myself, just working, I know. I always say I'm a psychologist who doesn't believe in psychotherapy, which is not technically true. It's a little bit of a joke, but it's just so limited. And the power of psilocybin microdosing in particular really revolutionizes. It is people likely know, and that's how they have found you and found this work, that all that has been the buzz in kind of in microdosing and in psilocybin, et cetera. So it's very much in the public eye. So I was glad to see that happen. And myself, my own experience, I had done a lot of work on myself in my life. And it was about a little over 2 years ago that I said, it's time, I'm going to start doing this for myself. And I started microdosing, and it immediately transformed things for me. That's not always everybody's experience, but I immediately felt so much clearer, so much better, and was just very happy to be part of this and bring that to other people. So I'm really honored to be here and continue to, it changed my life. It changed my work. Really, you don't know sometimes how much healing you've done and how much you might still do until you start doing more of that. And it just keeps upgrading. So
Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Denise. I mean, again, I know your story, but it's always good to get confirmation what you're about, because it's a great story. So we can just at least help people out there to get even a fraction of the healing that we've gotten. I think people would be very successful. But our goal actually is to get you to get feel 100% the way we do every single day, just gliding through the days effortlessly. That's not to say you're not going to have a bad day. We're all human beings, but still, we feel really, really good about our lives and what's going on every single day. One thing I did forget to do before we get into the first question is we have I see we have a Q&A box, and people have already written some questions in. So feel free to write your questions into the Q&A. We're going to get to as many as we possibly can. If you're not familiar with Zoom, you should go scroll across the bottom, move your mouse down there. You should see something that pops up that says Q&A. The next thing I'm going to do before, and Denise, I'm going to let you take the first question. So go ahead and be prepared for your first one. I'm going to say one more thing, and then we'll get right into it. We have a chat box also at the bottom. So let's test it out right now real quickly. All of you, if possible, just go ahead and say hello. It's good to be here, or whatever you want to say, and tell us where you're from. That would be really great. Just tell us where you're from. We'd like to see people that are, not necessarily all over North America here, but maybe all over the world. I have a feeling we have some people all over the world. So love to see something come up on that chat box. Let's see. I don't see anything yet. Let's see if we get the first chat. Somebody just say something real quick, just to make sure the chat box is working. Let's see.
I don't see anything in the chat.
Nobody said anything yet. Right.
Either people are, and we don't really want people doing a lot in the chat. The Q&A suddenly bumped up, so people might be saying something.
Yeah, they're two distinctly. I just typed hello in the chat box. They're two distinct, different boxes. One is chat, and one is Q&A. I just want to see one person at least, just so we know it's working in the chat box. But I don't see, nobody said anything yet on the chat. Wow,
But a lot of people, Dr. Dave, I just want to point out, a lot of people are commenting, perhaps because suddenly that it went from maybe 4 or 5 questions in the Q&A to almost 30, like instantly. So it might be that people are suddenly adding a lot. I can try to scroll down, but I was
unfortunately, no, I see somebody just said chat is disabled. And I'm going to, Denise, reading your first question, I'm going to see if I can easily do it without going into the whole system. Jenny's good. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Hold on. I think I got it.
Well, like you said, while you're doing that, you want me to handle that first question?
Okay, here we go.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Now it's happening. Now we're going to get.
There we go. Okay. We're gonna read these, but yeah, Denise, go ahead.
So,
Start. You can start with your first question.
This is the yeah. Are we in Mercury retrograde? I think we're heading because there were no planets in
Coming in
retrograde.
like crazy. Look, I can't keep up with them.
No, there's no way. So, and I wanted to, so I'm going to answer that very first question, which I'm not going to read the name. So, it's, you can stay anonymous, certainly. So I'm not going to read the name, but you probably can identify your question by the answer. So this was a question about the medication being on being on like Concerta, which is an ADHD medication. That's the one you were telling me. So for me, it's like suddenly there's over just as many people that are in the webinar that are in attending have a question. So I'm thinking that was because a lot of people answered in there instead of the chat, but now the chat is way up. So, and I did want to say that, we try very hard to get to everyone's questions, and yet we're not going to, obviously. If the people that are here, people that emailed us ahead of time, Dr. Dave and I spend a lot of time, all the time, answering questions. We're very happy to do that. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us, particularly if you had a question and it doesn't get answered. Please do not hesitate to email us directly, and we're going to answer your questions to the best of our ability. So I get this question a lot about being on other medications and how that's going to affect dosing or what's going on. And so while it's very hard, we always say this isn't medical advice, and it's not. And part of the reason, as a practicing doctor, I really need to look, it's such an individual journey. Even if we say, oh, someone who tends to be on this medicine and does this with their microdosing, there might be trends, but it is so varied from individual, from particular mushrooms. I can have a certain kind of mushroom and on a different day take it and it's going to feel a little different. Yes, there are trends. So I always caution people, take some of what we're saying as some guidance, but then really reach out to us individually, or really look at general trends. So the question has to do with like sort of being on Concerta, which is an ADHD medication to treat, focus or, attention or something, or energy levels. And yet the 10 doses in, if I'm understanding the question correctly, it doesn't seem like it's doing anything, or it's like the person's not doing well. So again, there's no specific way to say, do this, this is what to do. It's just not that kind of medicine. But what we can say is, if you feel like you're not feeling anything, you can bump it up a little bit. And we generally say like maybe 50 milligrams, depending on the variant. I can go up 50 milligrams in a particular PE strain, and that's a very big bump for that strain. So if you're looking at PE, maybe you go up 25 milligrams to see how it is, and you kind of get to your sweet spot where you feel maybe something. You feel, we always say sub-perceptible. It's really not. It's sub-intoxicating. I mean, you're not supposed to feel like high from it, but you want to feel like something's going on. Maybe you feel calm, maybe you feel hungry, maybe if you don't feel hungry, but you notice something is happening. So, and then if you get to sort of like, oh, that feels like maybe too much, then you dial it back. And that at the moment is your sweet spot. So that's how I would answer a question. If somebody's taking a bunch of doses and it doesn't really seem like you're doing anything, I would maybe, depending, there's a lot of depending, so it's not an exact answer, but go up just a little bit and see if that helps.
Yeah. I'll add to that. Like I know at the very beginning when I was doing the podcast episodes and I was trying to explain to people that, microdosing is sub-perceptual. You're definitely not supposed to feel like high or trippy or anything like that. And so I would always say, when you're microdosing, you shouldn't be feeling anything at all, and it's working. I've changed that feeling a little bit, and what I would say is, although you shouldn't feel high, you should be able to absolutely go about your business. You shouldn't feel trippy. You shouldn't be hallucinating or seeing bright colors or anything like that, because it's a microdose. However, you should be feeling a little bit better. And by it's very subjective. It's hard for me to say exactly what that means, better. But I think when you feel it, you'll know it. So like Dr. Denise just said, go up a little bit at a time. And I've got a whole episode I did on the absolute beginner's guide to microdosing magic mushrooms. It's in the podcast. You can check that out. We go into tremendous detail, and we don't obviously can't make that the whole scope of today's webinar, but go up, continue going up in little increments until you feel something. It feels pretty good, but you're not high or stoned or hallucinating or tripping. That's so my answer is you should feel something, but it should be really a really good feeling, like you're like maybe you feel like you're more attentive, more with it, more you're observing things better. Just you feel a good. It's just hard to explain, but I think like when you feel it, you'll know it. Let me go ahead and by the way, real quick, is all you took the time to write these things in. We're going. Let's see, we got people from Baltimore, Seattle, California, Salisbury, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Buffalo, Boston. Let's see, all over the place. Well, Ireland. Oh, wow, somebody from Ireland. Wow, very, very, very cool. Love it, love it. Eugene, Oregon, Salt Lake. Who's my neighbor? Salt Lake City. That's where I am right now. So you're near me, probably. Okay, there are a lot more which we'll try to get to later. But thanks everybody for putting their saying hello and putting their cities and towns and countries or whatever. Okay, here's a question. There was also this one was submitted in advance. I'll just read the first name just to keep the person's privacy. First, it's from Chris, and Chris says he's scheduled to attend a psychedelic mushroom retreat in Mexico in May. So like in a month and a half or so. He asks, the plan is to take at least one macrodose of 5 grams. 5 grams. That's a pretty standard macrodose or heroic dose. Will it help me or be beneficial if I start microdosing on mushrooms now before the retreat? Will it enhance or deepen my experience with the macrodose? It's a really, really cool question. First of all, Chris, good luck going to Mexico. It should be fun. It should be great. I hope you get a lot out of it. I do want to say to many of you that are watching this and listening tonight, you don't have to go to a retreat for you to get the benefits from mushrooms. You don't have to go out of the country. You don't have to go to another area if you're in the US. What we're talking about tonight and everything I talk about on my podcast and everything Dr. Denise and I talk about in the private Facebook group, and also the people that are within our one-on-one program, we always say you do not have to travel, you to do this. But if you want to, we're not going to stop you. However, to answer Chris's question, there will be no problem starting to microdose today. You can start to microdose today, no problem whatsoever. The only thing I would say is I would give it 1 week in between your microdosing and by the time you go to Mexico. So leave like a week buffer where you're not using any magic mushrooms, any psilocybin, all that. That'll kind of reset your system so you'll be ready for Mexico. But will it enhance? Will it help? Perhaps it will. I'm not positive, but I think it's going to probably get your body ready for it and know what to expect. But yeah, microdosing now, totally fine. Give it a week off, then go have fun in Mexico. And by the way, let us know how it goes, please.
Yeah. I'm just going to answer sort of a question, but it'll address sort of some general things that I wanted to mention, which is, about the Stamets stack and, if that's really useful. And I just want to say I see questions, both sent in ahead of time as well as now, that if you go to those beginner guides, there's 2 of them. On the podcast, the YouTube channel or wherever you're listening to the Microdose U podcast, there's just search beginner's guides. There's 2 of them, and it answers a lot of those beginning questions. I personally wanted to just, Dr. Dave, you can certainly add your input here, but I have not done the full Stamets stack. For anyone who's not familiar, it means you kind of stack, you take your psilocybin, you also do some niacin, and you do lion's mane. Now, I take lion's mane. The thing is, the wisdom and the unbelievable benefit of mushrooms across all types of mushrooms, and there's countless types of mushrooms. The psilocybin mushrooms, there's 200 at least species of psilocybin mushrooms. So we understand like about this much. And even Paul Stamets will say, we are not even near what we're going to be able to do, down the road. And so, what works for one person might not for another. So the Stamets stack is taking your psilocybin, taking niacin, and lion's mane all at the same time. So I am not a niacin friendly type of person. I'm not going to take something that's going to make me flush and get itchy and open up, in that way. I know already that won't work for me just from previous experiences with, other experiences, surgeries, et cetera, that is not something. And it's not something I feel personally that I have to do. I take lion's mane on occasion. I don't necessarily take anything with my dose. Sometimes I'll do a cacao ceremony. I like to have a little something to eat with microdosing. So those are all variations and kind of what we decide for ourselves is going to work as far as, but I don't know that you absolutely need to do a Stamets stack to get the benefits. And I would say actually nothing. I have the utmost respect for Paul Stamets. He's terrific. I love him. But I don't think you have to do a Stamets stack. You don't have to do any one thing in one particular way. And I don't think I do think you'll get the benefit of the psilocybin if you just do it on its own, along with all the other things we talk about, the work and the journaling, and then, all of the sort of parts that go along with that. But you do not have to do a Stamets stack.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Denise. And I've been microdosing now for 3 years, and I have not officially done a Stamets stack. Although, like you, I believe in lion's mane, and I have been using lion's mane. By the way, those of you that don't know, lion's mane it's a mushroom. It's a mushroom that has a lot of health benefits, especially like cognitive function. So I believe in lion's mane. I get it from Amazon. I usually put the link the lion's mane that I use in the show notes. So I'll see if I can get that to you. But so it's proof that neither of us have done the Stamets stack officially, and we both have gotten tremendous results from microdosing. So the answer is no, you don't have to. However, I had the pleasure of seeing Paul Stamets. And those of you that are not familiar with the name Paul Stamets, because some of you are brand new to this and don't know anything, and we're so glad you're here. But Paul Stamets is a mycologist. He spends his life studying mushrooms, and I'd say it's probably safe to say he is, if not the most highly regarded mycologist in the world, he's definitely in the top three, but I'd say probably maybe I think a lot of people would say he's the number one mycologist in the world. I saw him speak here locally in Salt Lake City. There was a psychedelic convention it was about 2 months ago or so. And he's just a wonderful human being, one of the kindest people you'd ever meet in your life. And he spoke on the stage for, I think, about an hour to an hour and a half, and he was just incredible. But one of the things he did show a graph that comparing somebody or people in a study that used just psilocybin mushrooms by themselves and against the Stamets stack. And I guess they research and poll these people how they felt. And according to his graph, the people that did use his way of stacking, and like Denise just said, lion's mane and niacin, did reach like a higher level faster. I do remember the graph; it was pretty compelling. But I still don't use the Stamets stack, and neither does Dr. Denise. So our answer is going to be you don't have to, but you can. That's our simple answer right there.
Yeah.
Let me, if it's okay, let me take a question, Denise, and I'm gonna take one real quickly and answer it real quickly because then I'm going to take a real one and answer it. But you'll see what I'm saying. But before that, I want to say we've got let's see, Long Island, Scotland, Los Angeles, Detroit, Colorado, Northern Ontario, Canada, San Diego, Missouri, St. Louis, Los Angeles, Maryland, my home state. Maryland, and the Orioles won. She said, I'm not mentioning names because we promised we'd keep you all private. Los Angeles, Minneapolis, it keeps going. It's never ending. But okay, so we have a question. How can I start to microdose on my own if I can't do it under a practitioner? What we're going to do, so at the very end of this, Dr. Denise and I are going to, when the official webinar is over, we're going to spend about 10 minutes, and it's a optional set. It's an optional segment of this. It'll be just, we'll try to do it within 10 minutes, with 10 minutes total, but we're going to actually explain, if you don't feel comfortable, if you really don't know how to do any of this on your own, if you're not sure, what you can do and how you can work with us a little bit. And so we're going to share that with you. So hang in there. Anybody that's interested, we'll share that at the very, very end. But we do have a question. I've been microdosing for about 1.5 years for anxiety, panic attack, depression. That sounds exactly like me. That sounds exactly why I started. All three of those for sure. I remember having a crazy panic attack in a Whole Foods. I mean, there's no more peaceful place on the planet than a Whole Foods grocery store. But for some reason, I started feeling really, really. It was not good. I don't even know why I felt, but anyway. So I'm with you on these three things. I know what you're talking about. Um, I just started a new type of psilocybin where I'm feeling that it might be somewhat stronger. I'm stronger than the one this person had been using. My mind is all over the place, strange sensations. My mind is thinking fast, which in turn makes my anxiety worse. Have others experienced this? My answer is absolutely yes. All strains are different. Some are very strong, some are not as strong, some are very mild. We recommend really going with a typical psilocybe cubensis strain, and a very typical one would be golden teachers. Write that down. I sent you all an email to make sure you have a little notepad with you for the webinar. Write down golden teachers. That's like the most common and the most mild strain, you can start with. And we actually recommend that for beginners with microdosing. Now I know Denise might want to chime in a second, because she has very good experience, a lot of experience with another strain that she used that happens to be a lot stronger. But my answer would be, yeah, if you change strains and you feel it just doesn't feel right, then either lower the dose of that new strain because perhaps it's much stronger, or go back to what you were using. Either one of those. But no, you should not be feeling anxious. You should not be feeling like you're going to kind of go back into panic attacks. Not at all. Just the opposite. You should be feeling a lot calmer. Denise, feel free to add to that if I missed anything.
Yeah, no, that's very good advice. And it is interesting that I started when my microdosing journey started over 2 years ago. I didn't really know so much about each individual strain and the various things. And I just started, and it happened to be a PE, which stands for penis envy. And it was a much stronger strain, but I was fine at the 100 milligrams. And I did that for a year, and it was absolutely perfect for me. I did it twice a week. And then I started going into like sort of an intuitive dosing, kind of maybe a little more, sometimes a little less frequent, but I stayed at that exact dosage. And then that went away. That resource that I was, using went away. And so then I got another kind, and it was Golden Teacher. And I found that I needed to use a little bit more. Otherwise, I didn't feel it. And I kind of knew with that particular one. And we always say, when you get something new, try it. Start at a lower end and then go higher. I have recently experienced where there's another type of PE, again, penis envy, and it's got like almost double the strength of the other type of PE. These are things in nature. They're going to vary. And a little bit that there's sometimes some information about sourcing and how these things are, come to be. And yet it is always good to start at that lower dose. And you can kind of, you know, go a little higher and go a little lower depending on your experience. I will throw in that if you find yourself like, oh, this is too much, this is too intense, generally what we experience, and probably most people could chime in and say this, it's not going to stay that way for 10 hours. It's not like you took this heroic dose of mushrooms and you're going to be tripping and it's not going to like let up at all. When you're dealing with a 10th or a 20th of a dose of this psilocybin, it's going to be, if you feel like, oh, I don't feel so great, or maybe it's a little bit much, it's going to pass usually within an hour, or even, maybe even sooner, or maybe sometimes a little longer. And I always suggest to people, just give someone you trust a call, have something, a little bit of water, have something to eat. I took a shower once when I found myself kind of like, oh, this is stronger than I realized. And it kind of does sort of settle down. So, yeah. And as we see, and as Paul Stamets even says, it's not an exact thing. It's just, it can't be. We can get closer and identify trends, but it's not going to be exact.
Thanks for that, Denise. I also want to thank a couple people. Yeah, some people told me how to put closed captions on, so I just did everything you said as Denise was answering that question, and um, I'm not seeing them on my end, but I'm hoping you guys are. And if anybody has any, I mean, I did everything. It's I clicked where it says closed caption. So let's see if that's working for everybody there. Let me know. Um,
People are saying no, that they're
oh,
not seeing it.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
when Denise is talking again with another question, I will try my
Let
best.
me let me go ahead and answer another
Please do.
general some
Please.
general question. So we get this question a lot, and I want to address it. It's been asked specifically ahead of time, and I get asked this question a lot, and that is about the cardiac issue. Is there an issue with heart valves and cardiac sort of functioning or whatever? And I want to, again, it's not medical advice. We can't specifically say for each individual. However, a lot of the information that's out there, it's sort of like, well, we assume because other medicines will increase valve issues. There are a lot of valve medicines that people are on that are, they have to watch their valves and their heart and their cardiac function, just general. And so their doctors, their cardiologists send them for regular, valves to have that done. And that's not an EKG, that's the echocardiogram, which is like a sonogram of the heart. And that's a good thing to have. What we're also seeing is that anybody who had an issue with a heart valve, not from psilocybin, but just in general, if they were on a medicine and they stopped it, it immediately went away. So a lot of there's first of all, there's not a lot of research, even though there's some to be written. A lot of it is sort of like assumed, if it's something that's going to be, affecting serotonin and different dopamines and whatever, and those things tend to affect the heart valve, well, then maybe psilocybin does. And they jump to some of those conclusions very quickly. So I always say to people, there's ways to kind of monitor. You can go and you can have the echocardiogram. There's signs and issues. It's a very unlikely, it's a very small percentage of people that have issues with valves. And they're in cardiac sort of issues anyway, never mind not connected to the psilocybin. So I just wanted to bring that up because there's a lot that goes on. There's a lot of scare tactics, especially from, I mean, we don't want to get too political here, but there's a lot of like big pharma and like, oh, that old mindset. Paul Stamets talks about this a lot. He comes to the Yale group that I'm part of, and he talks about this, that there's this history of, well, it's drugs and it's hippies and, you're going to be a druggie and all that. And, and big pharma's like, we can't have people doing drugs and it's illegal and there's no medical value. And that's just not true. So we have to sort of take things with a grain of salt. So we wanted to address that specific question. I know actually lots of people that have cardiac issues. They're on blood pressure medicine. They're being monitored and they're absolutely fine. And in fact, interestingly enough, I'll mention this. And again, we need lots and lots of research and studies and real world data. There are studies that are showing that psilocybin is helping people with their cardiac function, and ironically, even maybe with some of the issues with some of the valves. So it's just sort of all over the place, but it's not like don't do it. It's really scary. So check with us, check with your doctors. We can answer those questions in more detail after the webinar.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Denise. It's definitely some people are concerned, some people are not. I'm like practically a lifelong athlete. I mean, from my very early 20s, I've been a runner and all kinds of things throughout my entire life. And I really care about my heart, and but I am microdosing, and I've been microdosing for 3 years. And number one, I have not found that there's been any effect whatsoever. I am going, just out of curiosity, I am going in to have an echo done. I think I'm scheduled for next month, and nothing's ever been picked up anywhere else, and I'm not expecting there's any problem whatsoever. But I'm just curious. I'm going to see. So I'm kind of like playing your own guinea pig. So I'll be your guinea pig. I'm happy with that, but I'm still doing everything I do. I'm very very active. Do a tremendous amount of skiing and running and hiking and out there. So my heart is super, like yours is probably, my heart's very important to me. So, but we'll follow up on that as we can. I tried to do the captions, I still couldn't do it, but I promise you, we'll see if we can have that worked out for the next one we do. Let me go ahead and take a question. Actually, we promise not to mention names if you're on here. If you submitted one earlier ahead of time, I don't have a problem mentioning your first name. But if you're on here, we won't mention first names or last names. But I will say this is from an old friend of mine, somebody that I know personally, that I'm very happy to see that he's here with us tonight. That's so cool. And his question is, um, please compare microdosing to ayahuasca. And
Mm.
my answer is, they couldn't be further apart. Ayahuasca is a psychedelic. It's a natural psychedelic. Um, but you can microdose anything. But tonight, and for our purposes, we're really talking about microdosing psilocybin. That is a very common psychedelic to microdose, and that's what both Denise and I have a lot of experience with. Ayahuasca, on the other hand, generally you don't do it on your own. Generally, if you want to have an ayahuasca experience, you go to a ceremony where there's probably going to be a lot of other people with you. I personally have never done it, so I can't speak firsthand on this, but I do know a lot of people that have done it. And you go to a ceremony, they give you it's liquid, they give you a drink. It's very common to have some GI situations. People are like pretty much vomiting on the spot, that they just roll with it, and they don't care because they want to get the benefits from it. But there's a lot of vomiting and feeling weird and being very, very, very high and trippy and being out of it. And I'm not saying that's necessarily bad. Some people have had wonderful experiences and results from ayahuasca. Again, I haven't done it. I don't think Denise has done it. I don't think we've never. Okay, so yeah, getting the confirmation, she has never done it. And my point is, without ever having to do ayahuasca or even like a large heroic dose, I've done some larger doses of psilocybin, but never like a 5 gram heroic dose. And it has worked incredibly for me. The microdosing alone, only microdosing. I can't imagine anything working any better because I'm exactly where I want to be in my life. I feel exactly the way I want to feel every single day now. So I don't need to like move on and experiment with a lot of other things because the microdosing has worked really well for me, microdosing of magic mushrooms. And I know that I say this to people, that it's generally not a good idea to just bounce around and try a million different things. Figure out what you want to do. If microdosing is it, which we're very in favor of, then stick with that, stick with the program, and don't deviate, don't waver, and you are going to get results. And if you don't get results, if you're not getting results, let us know, because we can help you with that, because we're both very experienced in this now, and we've gotten other people really good results. So my that's a long answer, my friend, but they're very, very, very different. That's my final answer. Not good or bad, just very different.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer.
I wanted to combine a couple of questions here and have an over kind of arching answer, which is microdosing is extremely, extremely safe, right? So people ask about the safety. You are taking, like I've already said, a 20th or a 10th, up to a 10th, and it's a very, very small amount. It's extremely safe. We do, though, say, very importantly, don't take any chances. Like, don't take your microdose. We wouldn't want you to do this anyway, because when you microdose, you really want to be in yourself, aware of yourself, kind of experiencing what's actually happening, because that's the way to really benefit from it. So we really encourage people not to just take some psilocybin, a microdose, and then just get in their car and go drive, especially if you've not done it before. It is not a good idea. Absolutely 100% do not do that. Now, it is true when, after a while and you're adjusted to it, and after, kind of a few weeks, and I really understood what was happening for me right in the beginning, I could take up my 100 milligram, same dose. I was very familiar. It was the same exact source. And I was very comfortable being able to, drive if I needed to. I didn't sort of like ground myself and refuse to go anywhere, but I had done the research for myself. I mean, we all need to sort of trial and error on ourselves. But I would generally encourage people, why drive if you don't have to? And yet it could be difficult if somebody, drives and has places to go, or this could happen. You didn't plan to drive, and suddenly something comes up and you find yourself that you have to drive. As long as you're feeling fine and you're not feeling like, whoa, I feel a little, I don't know, high or stoned or something, then I would not drive no matter what the circumstances. Call an Uber, get somebody else to do whatever's going on. Whatever you have to do not drive under that kind of situation. So, but sometimes surprising things come up where we might have to drive and, hadn't intended it. But as long as you don't feel like you're kind of in that sort of high place and you've done the research. The other, again, safety, safety, safety. There was a question about the Amanita muscaria mushroom, which is a totally different, it is psychedelic, but it's a different substance. It's not psilocybin. It I won't go through all the science of what's in it, but it hits more on the GABA receptors. And in us, the GABA is connected to calmness and sleepiness and, pain and that kind of thing. So, I actually have some experience microdosing Amanita muscaria, and I would say be very selective. You can't just go on. It is legal, first of all. So, that's mostly it's legal everywhere. I would caution people against just going on, some site and getting some, Amanita muscaria mushroom gummies or something or other. There's probably other things in there. It's probably safe, but I don't know what you're really getting. Get it from a vetted source. If it's done incorrectly, you can, there's a lot of misinformation and myth out there about that mushroom, but it's not as dangerous sounding. I mean, as long as you're not going into the forest and taking it, that's very dangerous. Don't ever do that. But if it's a reasonable source, but you kind of like, I don't know how much to take, whatever, you could end up with some stomach upset, might not really fit for you, but it's very calming. It's good for pain. It's good for, sleep. So I'm sort of newer to the microdosing of that particular mushroom. Again, just out of an abundance of caution, don't take any chances. There's no reason to. I mean, why have an upset stomach if you don't have to? Connected to that question, just really quickly, it's a longer answer, but the idea of why having off days. So there's a lot of myths about, oh, you have to only take it this much, otherwise tolerance. A lot of that's just not true. So, again, it's very individual, but the why for me of an off day, and I do, off days all the time, is there's a lot that gets consolidated. And I will often feel there are days where I'm like, did I dose today? Because I feel like, just everything's clear and calm, and I didn't. So it's kind of like that integration. And after, 2+ years of this, I can kind of have a sense of, oh, I was going to do an off day. I think I'll take a dose today. Or all of a sudden, days and days have gone by and I haven't dosed at all. So it's sort of intuitive in that way. But the sort of concerns about tolerance, again, it's very individual. And again, out of an abundance of safety, we always say, do it anyway, and then you can kind of always add things and see where you go.
Let me take a couple quickies here. Really good questions. One of them is really close to my heart. She says, I'm going out of the country for a week, so no microdosing. And of course, we want everybody to stay safe. By the way, I always tell people, make sure you're microdosing in an area where it is either legal or decriminalized. And I'm kind of saying that I don't end up policing anybody, trust me, but and I'm here in Utah and I'm saying that, but still we really want to make sure everybody stays safe. But she's going out of the country for a week, so no microdosing. Would it be okay to microdose every day before then, so I'm better set up for the week away? Well, I can answer that from a personal point of view, because my wife is Japanese, and last fall we went back to Japan. We went to Japan for like almost a full month. It was like 3+ weeks I was going to be out of the country. So I was worried that, what's going to happen if like a little bit of anxiety starts to creep back into my life. What's going to happen? What there's nothing I can do, because I'm not, and I do not, trust me, please do not ever travel internationally with something that's not legal. Please, you don't want to take a chance ending up in a jail in another country. There's nothing that's worth that. But here's what I did. I went ahead, and the week leading up to me leaving for this Japan trip, I did a couple of larger doses, not very large doses, but like maybe 5 days before, I ingested, it was about 1.2 grams But it happened to be a strain that was actually very strong. So it's probably more the equivalent of 2 grams. I did a podcast episode about this. So you can go in and check and go back and check that. It was from like last fall. I mean, I explained everything about how I felt on the, 2 grams, at least, the equivalent of 2 grams. And then maybe a day or two before I left for Japan, I did another slightly larger dose. It might have been about 800 milligrams, something like that. By the way, it's really important that you all know how to transfer grams to milligrams back and forth in your sleep. You should be able to do this. 800 milligrams is how many grams, people? Who's going to be the first one to put that in the chat box? 800 milligrams is how many grams? Let's see. Let's see what we have here. There we go. Okay. Now somebody said 0.08. It's not 0.08. It's
Oh.
0.8 is the correct answer. 0.8. So I'm proud of you. Nakama, you're doing great. You're doing fantastic. You should be able to go back and forth both ways. So that's what I did. And when I was in Japan for the 3+ weeks, I felt great. I didn't feel the need to do anything. I felt great. I had a good time with my family and friends over there. So that's my answer. Do as much as you can leading up to your trip, but please do not attempt to do anything internationally at all, unless you're in a country where it is legal, then that's fine. And real quickly also, somebody else, again, not mentioning name, I'd love to be able to mention your names and say thank you so much, but we did promise anonymity here. So it's important to note that mushrooms or microdosing is not only if you're having mental health issues. They help to take out the noise in your head. Everything changes and nothing changes. If you're not looking for changes or working on yourself, it will be hard for you to notice any changes. But that's such a great comment, because yes, even if you're not depressed, you're not anxious, you don't have PTSD, you don't have an addiction problem, whatever it might be, there's many different mental health issues that people microdose for. It gives you so much more clarity about life and about like just everything. I feel like I just understand more about what's going on. I feel like I'm kinder to people. Not that I wasn't kind in the past. I think I've always been pretty kind, but I feel like I've gotten kinder. I feel like I empathize more with people. I feel like I see things that I never saw before, as far as just things. So yes, and I focus more business. I microdose before I go skiing sometimes. And I feel like I sometimes have the best ski days ever. I microdose before I'm taking Japanese lessons now on Zoom 3 mornings a week at 7 a.m. And I microdose, don't tell my teacher this, but I microdose before most of my Japanese lessons. And it gives me clarity. It's so great point. Thanks for sharing that with me. Throw it back to Denise for the next question.
Yeah. So, and I also want to remind people, we're not like heavily, we're seeing stuff, but, people are having chats and making recommendations. That's really great. We didn't mention, but we always talk about that. We do not discuss sourcing. We do not use this as a way for people to get people to come, follow what they're doing. We appreciate, and I'm sure people are making recommendations and out of the goodness of their heart. So I'm glad for that. But please, we don't discuss, somebody else's work or sourcing at all ever. So we really stay strict to that. There were a couple questions again that were sort of about other medications. If you're on any kind of medication at all, it's never a good idea, depending on the medicine, but I would say in general, this is a rule. It is never good to stop a medicine, especially just suddenly like that. If you're taking like Xanax, which is a benzodiazepine to calm you down, and you take it, we say PRN, which means as needed. That's a different story. You can say, I'm not going to do that. Or if you have an occasional glass of wine, I'm not going to do that. That's fine. But we're talking about regularly, your routine of medicine. You're on an antidepressant, you're on, an antipsychotic. Somebody can be misdiagnosed. There was a question about this. You can be misdiagnosed or get, a medicine that you should have never been on. It's not helping. Don't stop it suddenly. It will not be a good thing. It's oftentimes important to really do that under the doctor that prescribed it. Just tell them that you want to reduce it and get off it, and find out how to do that safely, because you can have some pretty uncomfortable symptoms, and it's not dangerous. It's just going to be uncomfortable, and you're not going to enjoy it. And it's going to kind of deter you from the path of getting off of that medicine anyway. So we never recommend anybody do that. There was a question about caffeine and alcohol and avoiding that. That's a personal preference. It's actually not true that you have to avoid caffeine, or you have to do it on an empty stomach, or you can't have an alcoholic beverage somewhere in the day. I try not to do that right at the same time. I mean, in general, I'll have like, some light breakfast. I'll have a cup of coffee because I like to do that. There's a lot of benefits to caffeine. I'm only having one. And, I'll have a little light snack. I'll make sure I'm really hydrated. And somewhere later on in the morning or early afternoon, I'll take a dose. If I'm going to have an alcohol beverage, it's fine. And in fact, sometimes I've had a little bit where I've maybe dosed later in the day and then I've had, gone to a friend's and I've had a little glass of wine and I feel like, that I feel it sort of like it exponentially. It's not like you're drunker or higher or anything like that, but you just sort of feel like them working together. So it's not really true that you have to avoid that. And then just really quickly, no, actually dosing of this medicine, psilocybin is not like this. It's not weight dependent. It's not body size dependent, believe it or not. There's some ideas that the other mushroom I was just talking about, the Amanita muscaria, is kind of body size. Again, I'm not really sure on that one because I'm not an expert. I'm more in psilocybin, my expertise. And I would say that it is absolutely not ever based on body size, believe it or not. It's really how your body metabolizes the medicine, what else is going on. Everybody's so individual. I have a friend, a lot of you have heard me say this before. We've done exactly the same thing, the same exact thing, same dose, same time. And she's ready to go for a nap and I'm ready to go for a 10-mile hike. And so we actually don't end up sort of having doses at the same time. She takes it at night. I take it early in the day because it tends to give me energy. It never makes me sleepy. I know lots of people, they take it at night because it just makes them sleepy. Individual differences.
Everybody's different. Yeah, you're not, no two people are going to get the exact same result no matter what you do. I'm going to go ahead and read the next question. Before I do, it's a very common question that we get. Hey, Dr. Dave, I love your podcast, love what you're doing. What can I do to support you? What can I do? And up until now, I really haven't had an answer, but I want to share with you, and it's really new, really exciting. If you want to get on board and be one of the first ones, we have a few members already, but I started a Patreon account, a Patreon page, if you will. Patreon is it's another platform, but we can get a little bit more intimate. We can say a lot more. So it is a subscription, and you'll get special content, you'll get, you'll be able to message back and forth with us much easier. Dr. Denise is on there as well. And I put special videos up there that I would not put in other areas, just because Patreon people are going to get like a little bit of a different, like a higher level thing that I don't really talk about on my podcast and things like that. So again, that didn't really explain it that well. It's pretty new. The content is being built, and we're gonna have more and more and more. Right now there's not a ton, but we're getting some stuff on there, and it's just going to be a way to kind of interact on a much more personalized basis. I'll try to put a link in an email I send you at a later time, but if you have your notepad with you right now, just write down Patreon, and it's Patreon, patreon.com// Microdose U, Microdose U being all one word. And it's the letter U. It's not YOU, the letter U. So I would be honored to have you as one of the premier beginning members of the Patreon page. We're going to have a lot of cool stuff going on there. Like I said, Denise is there too, and it's going to be awesome. So it's going to be a very, very, very small group. It's a very small monthly fee. It's like, I think it's $12.50. And that's a great way to support the show and support what we're doing. If you like, we don't ask a lot of you, but since a lot of people did ask, I came up with a solution. That's what I like to do. Okay. Another question right here. Let's see. Do you have any recommendations for a specific type of journal to use when starting to microdose? Are there journals or apps or to document my progress? Great question. I'm a big fan of just regular journaling. So I let me if I can reach this, carry this journal wherever I go. I go through them and I start a brand new one. It happens to be, I love it because it happens to have it has mushrooms on the cover, which I love. But I just write my thoughts down all day, every day. I refer back to them. I sometimes I put a to-do list on there, so it's not an actual only a journal, but I use it for many different things. But I carry it with me wherever I go. But it's basically a blank journal. There are definitely journals out there that are more microdose specific that you can get. As a matter of fact, we'll talk about this in a few minutes when we go into the second part of the program, which I really want to promise everybody that stays for that. We're going to keep it to 10 minutes. Okay, 15 minutes at the late. If we go over 15 minutes, please just stop us and tell us we're done. We're done because we don't want to take, but 10 to 15 minutes only. We're going to go into that in a couple of minutes. But people that do work with us on a one-on-one basis, they get a micro. Oh, I've got a green screen, so it goes through. But they get a very special microdosing journey that we're able to work with them. The answer is yes. There are a lot of different things out there. Pick the one that you like. But that brings up a really good important point. With microdosing, there is a lot of work that you do on the side in addition to the microdosing. It's not just popping a capsule or taking a bite off of a chocolate bar every day and saying, okay, I'm fine, going about your business. There are a lot of things that we teach, a lot of things that you do every day or almost every day that go along with the microdosing that are absolutely life changing. I think we don't have time for any more. Oh my God. It's like,
Yeah, I did. Can I just add something important? I don't think we mentioned the gift. We're going to stay on.
Please.
Yeah, we are going to stay on and talk a little bit here. It's sort of the after thing that the tenor promised 15 minutes, but I don't right the after party. We forgot to mention, I think, that there is a gift, and you'll get an email and some information. You're going to take care of that on your end, Dr. Dave.
Yes,
but
thanks for that, Denise. Yeah, we were so Denise and I were like, we're coming up with the best possible thing that we can give you, and we realized that we've got a deadline. We've got to have this whole thing ready, and it's not 100%. So we said, okay, why not make sure everything's right with it, and we're going to send you an email. And you'll have a link to how you can pick up your. So don't worry, we promise not to forget. You're going to get it, and just so look for an email from us fairly soon. We'll try to get it to you within the next few days for sure. So we won't forget about that. Okay, so let's do before we get on to the next part of the program. We'll take the last maybe we have 10 seconds or so before we actually hit the top of the hour. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for attending. This is by far the biggest one we've ever done. It's only the second, but it's much larger than the first. And I got to tell you guys, nakama, I feel your energy. Whether you're just curious about this and you've never started, whether your life is great and you're just kind of trying to see maybe my life can be improved, or the other side of the gamut would be, I've got some real issues, some either mental health issues or something else going on that I just want to feel better. That's our goal. We're here to take care of you. And Dr. Denise and I, if I can speak for her, we truly appreciate from the bottom of our hearts that you took an hour out of your time this evening, or wherever you are in the world. It might be morning, I don't know, but you took time out of your day and you spent it with us, and I really appreciate it. We're going to try to get a recording of this back to you so you can refer back to it. You're on our list now, so you'll get some correspondence and get some email, some information from us. But unless you have anything else to say, Dr. Denise, to the people that might be leaving, because this is the official end of this part of the program. 1 hour, we promised 1 hour, and we don't want to go over.
We're at the 1 hour. Yeah, I just want to also say from the bottom of my heart, I really do appreciate. And I'm going to also say I've been looking at the participant number, and I've done a lot of these webinars. I've attended these kinds of webinars. A lot of times there's fluctuation, especially when you're getting to the end. You know, a lot of people drop off and they're not sticking to the very end. Every single person that has started this, and some people came in a little late, the numbers just kept going up. And we're still ending at 1 hour and 1 minute. We're going to stop. We're at the highest amount. So I really do appreciate people being here.
So yeah, I second that. You guys are absolutely amazing. I sent an email earlier to anybody that was registered. I said, bring your energy, bring your positive energy. And guess what? Every single one of you brought your positive energy, and we can truly feel it. I'm not kidding. And like Denise just said, yeah, I've done a ton of webinars in dentistry, and the last 15, 20 minutes, people start just dropping like flies. This is totally different. You guys are awesome. Go ahead, Denise. You want to say something? Are
No, I
you,
was just going to
oh, you
say
were waiting.
the
Okay.
numbers went up. I know I'm doing the finger. Sorry, I'm getting the backstage confused here. But as I already said, the numbers actually went up, and they're still up. And we're at now 2 minutes after the hour, and we have pretty much the same number. Maybe a couple people have left, but we have more. Everybody's still here that came in
So,
initially, and the numbers just kept going up.
so
So
we
I
promise we're not
really appreciate that. Yeah. So
same.
we're going to stop,
Same.
right?
Okay, so okay, this is the official and so let's do this. Let's take 10 minutes, and at the absolute most, again, please stop me at 15 if we're not going to go over, because I've got to eat dinner still, guys. I'm on mountain time. I got to eat dinner. So so okay. So in all seriousness, we put our heart and souls into everything we do. Every single time I record a podcast episode, I would not release one unless I felt there was information in there that was beneficial to my audience, because I don't want to waste your time, and I just really truly want to give you everything I've got. However, and I've been doing this for close to 3 years now with the podcast and the Facebook group, on the private Facebook group, and everything else we do now, these webinars. However, there are people that say, I just feel that, I'm new to this, or I've been doing it for a while, and I'm not, I don't understand it, I'm not getting the results that I want, or I'm brand new and never done it, and I feel I need some personalized attention. I don't feel this is the type of thing I want to do on my own, because quite frankly, I can listen to all your podcast episodes, but I need somebody to hold my hand. I need some guidance. I need a friend. I need somebody that I know is always going to be there to support me in case I have a question or a problem, or something's not going right. And I'm happy to say that Dr. Denise and I started a individualized, I'm going to say, a coaching program. And we started kind of the beginning of this year, 2024. And when we did the very first video that explained the program, we were talking about how great it's going to be, and how it's going to be individualized, and how there's going to be, individualized Zoom meetings with only you and us, nobody else. You don't know anybody else that's going to be in the group, because it's totally individualized, personalized, and confidential. And we're going to have videos for you to view and get information from, and worksheets, and it's endless. And we were really proud of it, but we were talking about it, but we hadn't had our first member yet, because it was brand new. Now I'm happy to say we've had many people that have not only gone through the program, but we've also had people that are ready to start. Like Denise, I think it's next week or the week after, more people are starting. So now we can confidently say that we are absolutely changing lives with this one-on-one coaching program. And it's going really well. And we wanted to share this with you tonight, that if you feel that you're interested in this and you just want some hand holding, some help, some personalized attention, we are your people. I can say very confidently, I want to make it very clear that nothing we do in this personalized program, or anywhere on my podcast, is medical advice. It's not medical advice, even though I'm a doctor, a retired dentist, but I'm still a doctor, right? I'm a doctor. Dr. Denise is a doctor of psychology. But we're not acting as your doctors in this program. We're acting as your friends, your mentors, your coaches. So it's not medical advice, but still, we can guide you, we can help you. And I'm happy to say that the program is open. We don't accept everybody. We're very careful about who we accept, because we feel like it's got to be somebody that resonates with us and we resonate with them. So there's a little bit of an application and interview process, but trust me, if you're all in, if you really want to do this, you're most likely going to get in. But we would turn somebody down that we just felt wasn't a fit. But I don't know, Denise, if you want to explain, we're under the clock now to explain this entire thing in 10 to 15 minutes. So if you want to just explain a little bit about how the program works, then we'll come back in and tell people what because it's not free. It's not free at all. It does cost money. Everything I do on the podcast and the webinars, they're all free. But again, if you want the personalized attention, you will have to pay. But in my opinion, it's an investment that will change your life. But Denise, go ahead and talk a little bit briefly about the program.
Yeah, thank you. And it is an investment, but it's relatively small, actually, considering what people get. Because to work with me individually, or work with Dr. Dave individually, which we're not doing at this time. It just, we felt like we could really do this, put this program together, and then work with people that were part of this. And so right now you can't really just sort of hire Dr. Dave to work with him individually or me. So, but actually, if you tried to do that, it would cost you a lot more than this program, ironically. So it's a pretty intensive process, which I think is sort of priceless, but we don't focus so much on that. So it's a 10-week program. And basically, you get materials each week, whether it's a video or and a worksheet each week. And those are pretty short, but pretty comprehensive. So it's not a 2-minute video; it's more like 15 or 30-minute video. And there's worksheets. There's work you have to do. This is not a program for someone who wants to take a capsule and just, whatever. So those aren't our people, obviously, and I'm sure there's no one here that does that. So there's the work alongside, and we really guide you. We tailor it. The thing that's unique about this program is that there's the worksheets, there's certainly the videos, and yet the work gets tailored to you. So we have these weekly or almost weekly, and we tailor that to you. If you need less, you need more, whatever sort of fits for you, because it is a very dynamic process. And we can take what you're doing, whether it's questions about dosing, or if you've been really dosing and you're expert at it for a long time, but you're sort of like, I don't know, I want to sort of dial in what's going on for me psychologically, my attention, et cetera, other medicines I'm on. And it's really kind of exponentially harnessing all of that, the wisdom of the mushrooms, your wisdom as an individual person, our experience, guidance, along with all the extra work that we do alongside it. And it's just an intensive focus 10 weeks. And we really feel that, like Dr. Dave already said, when we developed all of this, which was over the having experiences and people asking us different things, our expertise, and we decided to do this program, and we started it. And, we devised it, we started it, and it went particularly well. I mean, far exceeded. I knew it would go well, but it really has been just amazing. And now we've got that, when we believed in it, but now we've actually got people who are saying, this has absolutely changed my life. And people can many of you are microdosing on your own, and it's fine. It's really a very small number of people if you're interested. And you'll know it's right. It'll feel right. What we're saying right now will sound like, oh yeah, I want to do this. It'll sort of resonate. And it's very easy to know if it fits. And we know if it fits. If you're for us, we're for you. If that, on that level fits. Everyone is not comma fits, but do I want to do this specific process? So you get that. You get the live Zoom calls, which are just you, as Dr. Dave already said. It's just you. It's based on what's going to fit for you. You've probably all seen me with this, the mug and, journals. And the journal, by the way, this specific journal that we, have that you get, it's not blank. It actually guides you through. You have to keep track of. It's very important, even if you're not in any program, but just for you to keep track of, what you did, in terms of dose, strain, how much, and your various observations about that. And over the course of time, it really is important. I look back on, I use this myself. I use my other journal. I look back on where was I a few months back or a few years back, or that I remember this strain or this or that way, this combination. I want to keep that in mind. So I do take careful notes. So we ask you to do that. And you get that extra bling, I always call it. That's part of the program. And the other point I'll make, I'm trying to be quick, but I want to be comprehensive. We don't go up 30 minutes, you're done, or 10 weeks, you need something after, you need something. We don't do that. We want to help you. Oh, and the other part of the program is not only are you getting the Zoom calls and these weekly, materials that you get sent, and you send them back to us, and we, we'll give you feedback about that. We're also available to you the entire time. You can text us, you can email us if we need to get on a call, whatever's going on. We're with you. I mean, we're with you now, we'll be with you after, but during that time, it's really like daily. If you need that to check in with us or whatever, you really have access to us the entire time.
I think so. Denise and I have spent an hour plus with you guys now. I think you can see us, you can feel our energy, You can see if you can feel if we resonate with you. Now, we might not resonate with everybody because everybody is not for everybody. But if you feel like we could help you as friends, as mentors, and like what Denise just said, you've got us. We're on your side because if you have a question during the weekend and you're just not sure what to do, then you message us and we get right back to you. And we become part of you. I just want to say something else before I give you what the investment is, before I tell you what the investment is, because everybody always wants to know it all comes down to money, but it shouldn't come down to money necessarily, but sometimes it does. But oh, I was going to say I had a, I know what it was. This journey is not necessarily about microdosing. Microdosing is a big part of it, but the bottom line is if you are experiencing something in your life that just doesn't feel right, you want that to change. However we can get you to that point, that's what it's all about. So we will make every effort, and we feel very confident that somebody that we accept into the program, because we do ask you some questions ahead of time. We do ask you questions, and we do have a 15-minute Zoom chat with you. And then if we feel we can help you, we will accept you in, and we will get you to where we do everything we can to get you to where you want to be. Now, the next question is probably you're saying, well, how much is it? How much money is this going to cost me? The answer is very simple. The program is $2,900. That's what it costs. However, we've been running a discounted tuition, and the discounted tuition, it's not going to go on forever. We're not sure how long it's going to go, but I can promise you it's not going to go on forever. The discounted tuition is $2,300 all in. We don't ask you for another dime for anything. We don't nickel and dime you. We don't say, well, in order to get to this level, you got to pay us more. No, everything we've just described to you, everything, $2,300 for a 10-week program. And I will say this because, again, money is definitely important. But think about $2,300. It's a lot of money. But when you break that down, it comes to, what does that come to for a 10-week program? What is that, $230 per week? Think about some of the things that you're doing in your life, especially the people that are thinking, this is too much money. But think about some of the things that we all do, going out to dinner, getting tickets to an expensive sports game or concert, or unfortunately, everything's expensive these days. But this is your life. This is your life. So I would submit to you that it's probably, I hope it's much more important than buying a ticket to see the Rolling Stones when they come to your town, which they are touring right now, by the way, and their tickets are, but it comes down to fixing my life, or going to that expensive dinner somewhere, or going to see a very expensive concert, or NFL's over now, but maybe a baseball game or something, or what sports event. I mean, it all costs money. But if it were me, I know where I'd be putting my money because once your life changes, you could pretty much do anything you want. So that's my feeling. So yeah, it's $2,300, 10-week program, everything we talked about. Now, what do you do? What do you do if you're still here? And Denise, we have a lot of people that are still
here.
watching us, and some of you, a handful of you, are saying this is exactly what I've been looking for. This is just it. This is what I want. And if that's you, and it's 6:15 now my time, so we need to close because I promised 15 minutes, but we did start 2 minutes late, so we got 2 more minutes. If this is you, all you have to do is send me an email. My email address is, write this down, please. It's really easy. Dave at Mado.com. Dave at MADOW. It's a single D, MADOW. I'll try to put it in some type of note somewhere if I can. Dave at Mado.com. And all you have to do is, it can't be any easier. Say, I know I'm in. Because if what you've heard us talk about for the last 15 to 16 minutes, and 1 hour if it resonates with you, if we resonate with you and you want some help, you don't have to say anything more than that. Say, I know I'm in. I want to do this, and we will take it from there. And the next step will be, we'll send you a little application to fill out. It's very simple. It definitely asks you some pointed questions. And then if everything looks good there, we will get you on a Zoom meeting for 15 minutes, and we'll make sure that we're all a good fit and that we feel that we can help you. And then then you're in. So yeah, again, it's so simple. Dave at matter.com. I know I'm in. I know I'm in, and we'll do it from there. Denise, did I miss anything? Final words.
No, I just the final word is we are never asking people. We're never ever going to ask people. You know, it's we're here. We've been asked. That's why we're doing this. We're not asking people to, you know, we don't do sales pitches. This is not what this is. People have asked us, and we have felt over a long time that we needed to sort of do something like this because people have asked for this. And there was a comment in the chat. Somebody said less than therapy. As a psychologist, I can tell you it's a lot less than therapy. And then I think about um, just like what's the cost of not taking care of ourselves, right? Like, you know, I always think about that cost benefit, like, oh, is it going to be this or that? Like, what's it going to cost me not to work on myself? It's going to cost me in my medical health, you know, my physical health, my emotional health. And by the way, psychological stuff, struggle affects our physical health. They interact with each other. So I would rather take care of, I wouldn't not go to the dentist because you know, it might cost me some money if I don't have dental coverage, but it's going to cost me a lot more down the road if I don't take care of my teeth. So I think about, yeah, price matters and money matters. And, you know, I completely respect that and get that myself. And yet I do think about, you know, it's not, oh, I'm going to do this for 10 weeks. And then what's it going to give me? It's going to change the trajectory of your life. It certainly changed mine. I know it did for you, Dr. Dave. And it just will, it gives you that guidance. And then you can just go ahead and do it on your own after that. Or if you still want us, we'll be there for you like we already are now.
You
So
know, one more comment, then I promise we're done. I'm getting hungry. I gotta eat, but and I think my wife has some food for dinner for me ready. But what I'm going to say, Denise, and you alluded to this, but you I just want to expand on this a little bit. So when I was when I did a lot of coaching for dentists and helping in the dental profession, helping dentists become more successful in their practices and just become happier in their lives. We had a lot of follow up, and I tried to get a lot of people to get into our program because that's how I made my money. And it was a lot of times not that I ever pressured anybody ever. I'm not the kind of person who would ever pressure anybody, but there were a lot of follow-ups, a lot of marketing. For this program right now, as you said, Denise, I will never pressure anybody to do this. If you feel it's for you, it's for you. We will not chase you down. You kind of have to find us at this point and tell us that you're interested. Um, so yeah, that's I was gonna say one more thing about that, about never pressuring anybody. Oh yeah, we don't even have a website for this. If you say I want to go to your website and find out more information, guess what? We don't. This is going to sound a little weird. We don't have to have a website because just telling it like it is, the way this is right now, we have the number of people we want in the program, and we don't want this to be super large. We have the people that want to do it. They don't need more information. They feel that they're very comfortable working with us just from what we said here, and they say they're in, and that's all we need to do. I don't even want to have a website about this. I don't want to have 100 people getting in because we can't handle that many people. Small number of people. We take great care of you. We become your friends and family. Friends and family, and we're part of your lives, and that's how we love helping you. I'm done. Denise, last words, and I promise we'll end it, everybody. That's the end.
I promise to. No, I just want to thank everyone and do not hesitate to reach out to us either way for anything that we said in the webinar about the program, anything like that. So we are very accessible. There's lots of ways to connect with us, and I just appreciate everyone being here. So thank you again.
As I say on the end of every podcast episode, unless I forget, which I usually don't, I want to say, I love you guys. I love you. I feel your energy. I don't have to say that. Nobody is making me say that, but I feel such good energy, and I love what I do every single day. So again, thank you so much for being here, guys. By the way, I want to share this with you if you're still here. We are tentatively doing another webinar, our third one. And I think, Denise, we zero in on April 28th, I believe. It's a Sunday, actually. We're
Yes,
experimenting.
we decided that, you know, it's hard for people because we're really all over the world, as we all, you know, saw tonight. Time zones. I mean, people are getting up at odd hours to see this. And you know, not everybody is available on a Thursday. So we are going to do it on a Sunday. And I don't know if we nailed down the time yet, but look for that information.
Look for it. It'll be all there. But okay. We got to stick to our word. Love you guys. Thanks so much for being with us. Talk to you soon.